So I know that I'm live late today, but I was on another panel and we were having a really good conversation and got a chance to talk about Project for the People for a while. So I stayed in there for a bit. Hey, Marcy, how are you? Appreciate you guys for rolling on in here. And when you come in, make sure that you do your daily heart knee, collect your points, do all the things here on TikTok. Good morning, David. So good to see everybody. Let me add a couple of things over here on this side of the world. Good morning, Butters House. How are you? Titan, oh my geez. I need for the cat to move. Good morning, Farah. Good morning, Endomoon. Hey, Cam. What's up, Jay Nice, Lucid? Appreciate everybody. Y'all see Titan doing his thing already this morning, right? Like all in my face. He about to have to move though. I have a lot of stuff to talk about today. And he's doing the most, right? So I need for the cat to move. You gotta move, buddy. You gotta move. He just looking at me like, no, I don't think so, and just set his ass straight back down. But he does have to move because I got things I got to do. All right, let's switch this around. Awesome, amazing. All right, so folks, thanks for joining this morning. I know that things have not been like as regular as usual. He went over the interview with Jesse. I don't know what interview you're talking about. Appreciate you, Coop. What's up, Vashti? Good to see you. Hey, Chris and Conchita. Oh, Jesse and Abdul. Yeah, yeah. I was like, who's Jesse? If you'd have said Abdul or El Said, I would have known you meant Jesse Waters. Girl, you just say Jesse, and I don't know who you're talking about because I don't watch no damn Jesse Waters. Um, she's still kind of rough, Candy Kiss. So I just fixed her some cheese, eggs, and stuff to snack on. Her cough is real yucky and mucusy and all of those good things. So yuck. I don't know why he thinks he's going to sit here during this entire live. If you guys were over here like on YouTube and Substack and all of that, you can see him. No, I don't think so, Candy Kiss. She's good. I already buckled down on the Propel and all the things. So appreciate you, Jamie, for boosting. So I'm going to ask you all to do me a favor because I haven't been as regular and I've had the kiddos and things. I need you to do your part with the likes, the shares, the taps, the comments, all of the things to help boost the live and kind of get it out so we can have some really important conversations. What's up, Moon? Right, he is sat, Conchita, and in my face too. You see him? Good morning, Gumps. Just all up in my face. Here's what I'm going to do. If you were not in my live last night, I did a rare evening TikTok live last night. If you weren't in there, can you put a 1 in the chat? And because if you missed them, the things that I went over last night were really important. And I think they are worth going over again today, along with the other things and the other information that it's important to share. What's up, Vicki? Okay, so lots of you guys weren't. So perfect. Those of you guys that were there last night, do you agree that information is worth like going over again? You missed a lot of it. You joined, but you had to leave. Okay. What's up, Blue Honey Pot? Good morning. So John Brown, we can absolutely have that conversation. You said inhumanity on the right causes the political divide still today. I don't know what I think about that. If I think it's the inhumanity, but we can talk about it. Hey, Letty. Good morning. Nice to see you guys. What's up, Carla? Folks that are popping on in here. You like the banner, Carla? Thank you. Yay me. I really wanted to let me see if I can do this real quick. This banner right here, I felt like today, missed you guys too. I really felt like this was a conversation that I wanted to have. Like, thanks for the puppy kisses. Like, what is causing the political divide and how do we bridge that gap? Because that's a conversation that I don't think a lot of people are having. We talk a lot, hey, Slacky, we talk a lot about like, how do we gain power? How do we stop some of the things the current administration is doing? But do we talk about how do we bridge the divide within our communities, within our families, even within our neighborhoods and our schools and all of those different types of things? And I just don't know that we're having enough of those conversations. So I do want to have that conversation today, and I've specifically got a couple of other items that I think are part of those conversations. I did sunflower fish. I talked about it yesterday, and I will talk about it again this morning. I did. I talked about it yesterday, last night, and I will talk about it again this morning. So things that I know that I'm going to talk about. Let me see if I can pull my stuff back up, folks. Titan, you're going to have to move, love. I can't work around you. Like I just can't. I'm reaching all around this big ass cat sitting in my face. But okay. Hey, Amy, good to see you. All right. So, good morning, Clean. No, Bella's not there yet, but it's okay. Oh, thanks, Tech Lady. Appreciate it. All right, so folks, listen, if you are watching anywhere other than TikTok, make sure that you say hi in the chat, or I won't know that you are there. And I absolutely want to know that you are there so that we can have a conversation. If you're watching me on Substack, I will never know that you're there because I can't see your chat. And I hate that, but I love that you're here. Okay, so first things first, let me just go ahead and address the Supreme Court ruling yesterday. Okay, because everybody's kind of up in arms about it. And listen, there is cause for concern. Okay. It's also important not to let yourself get carried away and just be overtaken by fear and worry and angst. Okay. So we have to put those things in perspective. So the Supreme Court had a particular case in front of them yesterday. So there is a judge in Massachusetts that had issued 2 rulings concerning Trump's executive order on mail-in voting. Okay. And hey, Michael, good to see you. And so the first one is the one that the court wrote an opinion on yesterday. Okay. And here's what their opinion said. Their opinion simply said, all right, listen, you 23 states that have filed this lawsuit actually have not suffered any injury yet. Right. So therefore, there's no standing for this lawsuit. And so what they did was the Supreme Court yesterday paused the injunction that federal judge had put in place. Okay, so the federal judge had put an injunction in place that said this particular part of Trump's mail-in executive order, his executive order on mail-in ballots, this particular part could not be implemented in 23 states. Okay, and so pretty much he said, listen, harm hasn't happened yet. Therefore, that's what the court said. Therefore, we're lifting the injunction, right? Lifting the pause, which means now that particular part can go forward. Okay. Now, what does that mean? It means that part can go forward. I personally don't believe that they are going to, because that's a legal criteria, Butter's House. You can't come into court and ask the court to do something about something that hasn't happened to you yet. Right? Yeah, babe. You need some more peach? Okay. Can you drink a berry for now? Or can you flavor some water from over there? I'll get you some more peach Propel. I didn't realize that we were out. But if you can drink either the berry Propel or pick one of the flavored waters over there. Okay. All right. So here's my thing. Right. And I hear you, Blue Honey Pot. Blue Honey Pot said what concerns her is how close we are to the elections. But this is my thing. Because we are so close, the ability for this administration to get it implemented in time is there's a smaller window for them to actually wreak the havoc, right? Follow me, you guys. Hey, Uka, I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. So good to see you. But because we are so close to early voting, the ability for them to actually implement this executive order is less significant than it would have been if this had been lifted a month from now. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, remember that this administration has lost their court cases in about 22 or 23 states where they have attempted to get the unredacted voter files. They have lost all of those cases. So when they talk about managing the voter file to citizenship, right? They've lost their cases to try to get the unredacted voter files. So they don't have They didn't get that. And that would be a significant piece of what they would have wanted. Hello, 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 Raja, right? Number 3, okay? Once they do attempt to implement it, you can rest assured that this case will be resurrected. It will be filed again in court and it will be ruled unconstitutional. Okay. The question is going to be how much harm is or isn't done during that small window of time that they have to wreak a little bit of havoc. And this is why every voter needs to be doing their due diligence and being on top of how you are going to vote. If you know that you are going to vote by mail, I would be on the phone with your local election board, with your state, your state department for your what the hell am I talking about? For your Secretary of State. I couldn't get it out, y'all. All of those things. Hey, Rosalind, to make sure that you have access to the thing that you need. Also, there is a national voter protection hotline. I'm going to give it to you right now. Y'all ready? So this is the number. It is 866 our vote, which is 866-687-8683. If you have questions about voting in your area, you want to call that number. You show up to vote and somebody wants to deny you your right to vote, you want to call that number. You do not leave the polling locations without asking for a provisional ballot, right? That is the national hotline for voter protection. And they have people in all 50 states that can help you navigate whatever instance that you run up against. If you show up and you see something that is alarming to you, call that number. Got a question? You think that maybe something might be sketchy? Also do that. So these folks are like they do training. They've got people in all 50 states. And so, yeah, just so that you all know, that is the hotline. It is 866 our vote. Okay. So I just want to make sure that everybody has that. All right. So let me get back to the other part that I was at. Okay. So here's the other part though. That same judge had issued a second ruling, folks, and that second ruling banned another part of that executive order from being implemented in the entire country. And the Supreme Court did not touch that ruling by that judge. So there's one ban still in place for one of the provisions of that executive order. And then the other one, that injunction has been lifted. So it's just a matter now of how much can they get implemented in the short window of time? How much havoc or chaos can they cause within that time? How long will it take for them to put the case back into court once they have standing because harm has occurred? What's up, Tim? So that's it in a nutshell. So remember our circles when we talk about these things. None of us sit on the Supreme Court. None of us are working at the ACLU or are involved in these court cases, right? Some of you do have mail-in ballots, right? That's how you vote. So you've got to focus on your portion of that because you can't control the other parts. So what you want to do is make sure that if you are relying on mail-in voting, that you do your due diligence to ensure that you're going to get the ballot that you need and that your ballot gets cast and counted. Okay. And if you don't have to do mail-in voting, take your ass to early vote. Early voting is really important. Okay. So there you go. You got to plan your vote, folks. All right. So I want to make sure that I covered that. All right. So let me explain. How many of you all are actually new to my live? Has anybody, or if you are new to me, put a 1 in the chat for me so I can kind of check you out and let you know what space you're in and kind of how I do things. Great, Vicki, love that. That was specific to mail-in, not absentee. Yes, mail-in ballots. Oh my geez, Titan. Morning, Jen. He's doing the most today. Okay, so listen, I only ask for 4 things in my space. Okay, what's up, V? I ask people to be respectful. Don't use slurs of any kind. Don't spam my comments. In other words, don't say the same thing over and over again. And do not type in all caps. Why? because I have individuals in my community that are vision impaired, and all caps are reserved for them. So just be respectful of people with disabilities. It's reserved for them and my moderators, and that's it. So other than that, we can have a gainful discussion, an engaging discussion, even a passionate discussion about things, even if we don't agree. Like, I'm fine with that. If you are, let me see real quick. If you would like to join as a guest on the panel, and you are not on TikTok, I cannot type around you, bro. This is the link through which you can do that. It has been posted on YouTube and Twitch. Facebook, I'm going to drop it in your comments really quick as well, and we'll get this thing popping. Okay. Other than that, y'all doing all right? What's the difference between absentee voting and mail-in voting? Absentee voting means you're not able to, you're not there, you're not in the state, right? So absentee voting are people that are going to be out of the country or out of the state or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, he's got to get out of the way. All right, so let me drop this little link in here real quick, and we are good to go. Join the panel. All right, so Facebook, you now have the link as well to join the panel. TikTok, you know how to join the panel. There's a box right there that says request. And there's also down at the bottom of your screen, 2 little people that are like pink and blue. If they are pink and blue, that means you have not requested up. If they are grayed out, that means, yeah, that's his name. If they are grayed out, that means you have requested up. Okay. All right. Perfect. Here we go. All right. So let's talk quite a few things. So I've already covered the Supreme Court ruling on mail-in voting. Are there any other questions about that ruling, what it does or doesn't mean, what's going to happen moving forward, and what you can do about it? Any other questions? Appreciate you, Carla. No? Okay, sweet. Love that. Thank you guys for sharing the live. Absolutely crushing it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and dig right on in. You missed it, Cravey? I'm just going to sum it up really quickly. There were 2 injunctions put on a federal judge. There were 2 injunctions that were put out by a federal judge regarding the mail-in ballot executive order. The Supreme Court ruled on one of them yesterday and lifted the injunction, right? So the Trump administration can move forward with that one. The thing is that there's not a lot of time before early voting, so you don't know exactly how much they can get implemented. But what the court said was they lifted the injunction, not because they said it was legal. They lifted the injunction because they said that the states basically did not have standing, right? They said that it had not been implemented, so no injury had occurred. And because no injury had occurred, they could not ask for a remedy. So that's it. But the other injunction is still in place, and there's still a provision of that executive order that cannot be administered anywhere in the country. So that's it. Claim your vote. Good morning, Nance. Okay, so there you go. That's it in a nutshell. Good morning, Kat. So last night I was live, and things that I talked about last night. You're part of the problem. You don't want to bridge a gap with MAGA. You're correct. Yep. You are absolutely part of the problem. So I guess my question is what's more important, your ego or the future of the country? Make that choice. You're going to have to figure that out. What's up, sir? Hey, Terrence. Like, I don't have the bandwidth for people's egos to get in the way, because that's just selfish, right? To be honest, it's just selfish, and we don't have any room for people to be selfish right now. We've all got to just suck it up and do the work. Good morning, Queen. What's up, Nancy D? All right. So one of the things that I also talked about last night. What's up, Dugald? No, I don't want to join with you. Okay, so one of the things that I also talked about last night was a report that was put out last month by the Religious Liberty Commission. How many of you all are familiar with the Religious Liberty Commission that was established by executive order by the President of the United States in 2025? Are you familiar with it? If you were in here last night, that means you already know. So, shh. But they put out this report, and I'm going to go over it briefly. You're not okay, so we're going to talk about it briefly, and I'm going to kind of let you know what it is. Just saying. Okay, so what the administration did is, you all know that we have a quote unquote office of faith, which is pretty much just a conservative Christian organization within the federal government, right? And so what the executive order did, was it created this commission. And this commission is supposed to, quote unquote, protect religious freedoms. But what it actually is attempting to do is to limit the separation between church and state. Okay. And so it outlines. So the commission is made up of predominantly conservative Christians and rabbis. Those are the people that are leading the charge. There's an advisory board on top of it. And then there is also a legal team. There's a team of lawyers. And what they look for are weaknesses where they feel like they might be able to exploit the protection of religious freedoms in order to get Christianity into our school systems, okay, into our military, into our healthcare, across the board. And then there's one other initiative that is in here, and there's an entire section specifically addressing anti-Semitism as well. So yeah, so this report laid out their findings and their recommendations for all of these areas. So, hey Wasim. So I put this report in my link tree yesterday after I went over it, or while I was going over it. So it is there for you to review as well. But I'm just going to go over kind of the highlights as well. Okay. It is pretty horrific. It is. What I'm not going to do today is like go through and read every single name that's part of it. But I will give you some of the names. Okay. So the commission members are Dan Patrick, the Lieutenant Governor of Texas. Ben Carson is the vice chair. Dan Patrick is the chair of the commission. Ben Carson is the vice chair. Dr. Ryan Anderson, Bishop Robert Barron, Cardinal Timothy Dolan, which you should know a whole lot about that, Reverend Franklin Graham, Mrs. Allison Ho, Dr. Phil McGraw, Eric Metaxas, Kelly Shackelford, Rabbi Mir Soloveitchik, and Pastor Paula White. So those are all of your members. There are some ex officio members as well. And yeah, you know, the angels of Africa are coming right now. The angels of Africa are coming. The angels of South America are coming right now. The angels of South America are coming. They're coming. They're coming. The saints of that. Yeah, her. Sorry. What the fuck? Yes, like the Dr. Phil. Yes. So I'm going to go over what their recommendations are, and they break them down into several different categories. One is, yes, Ben Carson. One is faith-based institutions. The second is education. The third is teachers, coaches, and administrators, parents. And so within education, they actually break it down into subcategories. So they have recommendations for education overall, then recommendations for teachers, coaches, and administrators, recommendations for parents, and then the next section is military, and then the next section is healthcare, how to get religion into healthcare, and then there's an entire section on anti-Semitism, and then there's another section for recommendations for the private sector, and what they want to do. And so it's really important that people understand that there is an active agenda and initiative to get, Veronica, in the military. So let me give it to you. You guys ready? You want to hear it? Here it goes. Morning, Bronze. Y'all doing okay over here, by the way? Why? Let me see. Hold on, you guys. I have a really long comment on Facebook that I want to address. Give me 1 second. Oh, wait, there's a couple. So give me a second. So Brian Sunderland says, so the most divisive issues are just the things the far left doesn't agree with from the administration. Um, so Brian, I don't know what you mean because like all I have up here are topics. There's no positions listed, right? So when I have up here the Iran war, because I think it's a divisive issue, um, so it's not about what the far left doesn't agree with. The whole idea is that they are going to be divisive issues if they are dividing us. So if you say it's something that the left doesn't agree with, you're proving my point that it's divisive, right? So Iran, immigration slash ICE, tariffs, healthcare, religious liberty, which is the commission thing that I'm going over now, Israel and Palestine, the Supreme Court decisions, and midterms, right? So, Brian, you said you don't agree with anyone completely. Feel free. There is a link right there in the chat, Brian. So if you would like to join the panel and have a discussion, then, you're welcome to do that. You're more than welcome to do that. Would love to have that conversation with you. W. Penny. Dave Carey says, why do Democrats fear fair, honest, and legal elections, you ask? No, I actually didn't ask that because that's not a thing. And I think the thing that's always interesting to me is when people jump in my chat and they begin to say things about Democrats this and Democrats that and Democrats this and Democrats that. Appreciate you, Penny. Just so that we are clear, number one, I'm not a registered Democrat. Number two, we're discussing policies and issues, not political parties, right? So I think the question that I would have for you, Dave, is why do you seem unable to discuss the issues without turning it into a political party debate? Right? Why is it that you can't actually discuss the policies and the issues rather than turning it into a conversation about political parties? So if you want to do that, you can also click the link and join the panel. Okay? Other than that, I'm not arguing with you guys in the chat, right? I've already shared with you how you can come over here and join the panel and have a conversation. Okay. What I'm going to do really quickly is because we do have some folks that appear to be in the request box, and I just want to double check and make sure. Cooper, did you mean to request up? And the Neo Rebel, did you mean to request up? Jamie, I know you're boosting. Butters, I don't know if you're boosting or not. Thanks, Lucid. So Cooper Hawk and the Neo Rebel, did you all mean to? I got you, Butters. Oh, thanks, Vashti. Really, I just need to see. Neo Rebel, and you guys, please don't address anybody that I'm not addressing. Okay, thank you. Neo Rebel, do you know that you requested? Ooh. Give me a second, y'all. And we'll do that one today. Okay, I have updated. Terrence, I'm not sure what you're talking about because I'm just catching one of your things. You said so it was okay to get them elected, but now it's a problem for them to stay elected. I'm not sure who you're talking about. I know it's Dani derangement syndrome. It is. It's Dani derangement syndrome. It's okay. Okay, let me just give it a whirl, you guys, and see what happens. Because, Oh, gotcha, Terrence. Okay, so apparently not because I accepted the request and then I didn't join. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do is because I don't have people that have requested that actually want to join the panel to discuss the prompt, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start to go over the Religious Liberty Commission report. Okay. So if you have requested and you would like to discuss the prompt, speak now or forever hold your peace. Speak now or forever hold your peace, or at least hold it until I finish this review. Okay. So nighttime, did you mean to request? Hey, good morning, nighttime. How are you?
Good morning, Dani.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm doing all right. What would you like to share?
Yeah, is this some of the same stuff that was laid out in Project 2025?
Which part?
This with the education and stuff like that, for as the schools and
Yeah.
how they wanted this structured.
Yeah. It's also about getting Turning Point USA and PragerU into our school systems. It is an attempt to get us closer to a theocracy, which is the goal of some parts of the Conservative Party. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. We tried to tell people this was coming, and they said that Trump distanced himself from Project 2025 and said he had nothing to do with it. And what, according to you, what percentage of Project 2025 do you think has already been implemented since he's been in office?
I don't know. I know that there's a tracker out there where people are tracking it. I actually don't. So one of the things I stopped doing was talking about Project 2025 as Project 2025. And the reason I did is because some people, as soon as you bring it up, they shut down. They're no longer listening because in their mind, he has nothing to do with it. He said he didn't have anything to do with it, so it's not relevant. So,
Okay, I understand.
yeah. So one of the things that I prefer to do is to actually talk about the thing itself, right?
Right.
If I talk about the actual act itself, the issue itself, and that gets people's attention, I don't have to say, oh, I told you this was coming. I don't have to say this was Project 2025.
Right. I just agree.
Yeah. And so that's one of the reasons. But this is, people, one of the issues that we have, also within the Democratic Party, and I need for people to understand this. Part of the issue that we have is that we still have Christian nationalists in the Democratic Party. We have Christian Zionists in the Democratic Party. And so it is one of the reasons why we are where we are in terms of not getting enough pushback. Titan, you're going to have to go, bud. Seriously. On some of these things that are happening. Now, let me be clear. This is just a report with recommendations, right? It will take a while for these sorts of things to be set up and implemented. And so the greatest thing that we can do right now to prevent these things is to vote and have a progressive majority in Congress, in the House and in the Senate. Like that's the very first line of defense. The second thing that people can do is run for office in your school board. Run for office for your local school board. Titan, oh my geez. So that is another thing that absolutely needs to happen. The second thing is donating to organizations like the ACLU that are fighting to protect the rights of your children in education and also across the board in its entirety. Because I want to be clear that this is not just about education. Education is one of the, right, y'all, Titan isn't playing no games today. Education is one of the areas in which they are making recommendations, but it's also healthcare, the private sector, the military, so forth and so on. Oh my word, son. It's doing too much. Oh. Anyway. But that's one of the things that I want people to understand about this recommendation is that it's just that, it's a recommendation. And so what I highly recommend people do, people that are absolutely concerned about this, is he headbutted me, is to take this particular document, its recommendations, and write up the and write up the legal opposition to it as to why it doesn't work, and then mobilize in your local community. Go talk to your local school board, talk about the things, tell parents, because here's the thing. We need to be having this conversation, and I said this last night, that religious freedom also includes freedom from religion, right? Religious freedom isn't just, oh, you get to practice your faith. It means that you don't get to put your faith in my face and make me part of your faith, in things that are federally funded and funded by the government. And so I think that that's one of the things that people need to say, because listen, they expect the argument. You got to go, son. I can't. I love you, but you got to go, baby. And don't make me spritz you, please. I would prefer. Hey, Bella, here's Peach that was left over. One of your peaches is over here, babe. You got to go. Okay, sorry, y'all. The cat is on my nerves today. Okay, but so this is one of the things that they expect us to say. Well, what about Islam? If you're going to do it for this, you got to do it for Islam. You got to do it for Wiccans. You got to do it for the Satanists. You got to do it for the Buddhists. You got to do it for this. But there's also, and I think that this is like a valid thing, is like, listen, hold on. You do not get to shove your religion down my throats, because isn't that what they say to us about a lot of other things, right? Religious freedom is also freedom from religion in its entirety, especially when it comes to our government. So, was there anything else, Mike, you wanted to say?
No, that was it. I dropped down if you want me to, but
no, you can sit there. I just want to be sure. I'm getting ready to go over some of these points.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, got you. All right. Okay, so let me share with you kind of what the recommendations are, you guys, because you will be astounded. So first, they have recommendations for faith-based institutions. So how many of you all are not familiar with the Johnson Amendment? How many of you guys are not familiar with the Johnson Amendment? Hey, Southern Chick, good to see you. So the Johnson Amendment actually says that churches and nonprofits cannot do political endorsements. Okay, so if you are a not-for-profit, if you are a 501c3, you may not endorse a party or a candidate. Okay, same thing. So that would apply to churches. Okay, so that's the Johnson Amendment. And there was a lawsuit earlier this year that was trying to diminish that. And that lawsuit was dismissed by a federal judge on March the 31st, 2026. So Walker, have you requested up? Because I don't see you in the requests. So one of the first recommendations that they make, right, is saying, so what they say is, this is their recommendation for religious leaders, institutions, and houses of worship. Number one, issue guidance to ensure the Johnson Amendment is not applied to chill religious leaders' First Amendment right to provide religious guidance to their communities. Now that's important, because what that means is they want to hide political endorsements. They want to hide political endorsements or selections of a particular candidate or a party. They want to hide that and say that, oh, that's just spiritual guidance. That is religious guidance. We're not actually endorsing the candidate. And so that is what they want to do. They want to find a narrow little loophole in the way that they are expressing things. Boy, listen. Mila, Bella, can you bring me the spray bottle from for y'all's hair? It's on my bed. You better get sprayed, Titan. I love you, mean it, but son, you're doing too much today. Listen, y'all, he's been fed, he's been played with, all the things. I don't know why he's acting so crazy. I love him, but I can't. So anyway, so that's the Johnson Amendment. And so basically that what they now want to say is that, oh, well, this is religious guidance to my community. It's not actually an endorsement of a particular political candidate or a political party. Okay. 2, yeah, girl, the spray bottle. He just heard me go like this and took off. Here's the other thing. And they've put some of the things in bold print, because this is the part that they really want to go after. So number 2, guarantee faith-based institutions and in all bold an equal opportunity to participate on an equal basis in funding opportunities. And this is the critical part, without requiring them to renounce their religious identity. And they want you to issue guidance that religious discrimination in federal funding programs is as unconstitutional. So again, this is an attempt to yes, they have been violating it for decades, Kat, 100%. But this is an attempt to be able to say, oh, well, we ought to be able to as a nonprofit, as a church, be able to get this federal funding for in the political arena, right? Even as a church, even as a nonprofit. And I shouldn't have to say that I'm not a religious thing in order to get it. But here's the thing. We don't federally fund religious organizations. We don't do that for a reason, right? So, oh my sweet baby Jesus. Move. Now that's enough, son. No. Next. He's really going at it today. Right. And then 3. This is under the category of recommendations for religious leaders, institutions, and houses of worship. 3, clarify faith-based institutions' freedom to operate in accordance with their religious beliefs, including through litigation against state and local authorities that discriminate on the basis of religion. Right, then churches should be taxed. Then religious organizations should be taxed. If they want to be treated like every other organization, then they should be treated like every other organization. Next, listen to this. They want to require public officials who allege that a person under their supervision has improperly engaged in religious expression to provide a written explanation of the alleged violation to the person accused. Son. He's coming back. Oh, my word. Within 30 days and explain that charge based on a specific constitutional provision or provision of law. The reason they want that is because they want a specific law that they can then take to court to try to get a ruling in their favor to break open that separation of church and state and get Christianity in. So that's the point. So just so that everyone knows. Now, recommendations under education. They want to ensure the constitutional guarantees of religious liberty and parental rights are enjoyed by the families of all socioeconomic means by promoting a robust and universal system of school choice where funding follows the child. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You want federal funds and public funding to go to rich children for their voucher schools and your religious schools. Absolutely fucking not. Just saying. That's what the goal is. They want to encourage agencies to, quote, take proactive measures to defend public school students' rights to exercise their faith. Now, immediately, I just want to go, so that includes Muslim call to prayer, right? Such as creating, listen to this, and they mentioned this several times, creating hotlines or portals through which students can report violations of their teachers and their administrators to increase public awareness of existing reporting channels. 3, train school teachers, faculty, and administrators on students' constitutional rights. I don't know that they care about that when they violate them all the damn time for these babies, right? 4, hold violators accountable and provide guidance to school districts regarding their obligations under the First Amendment and other religious liberty laws and regulations. Engage in strategic litigation to ensure religious students have equal access to program and funding. So they want your public dollars to go specifically towards religious programs and religious curriculum. Okay? And where feasible, listen to this, they want to limit federal support to districts that are non-compliant. So again, this is the report from the Religious Liberty Commission that was established via executive order by the Trump administration in 2025, and this is the report that they just put out last month. This report is outlining how they might bridge the divide between our government and religion, and that's what they say. Yep, sure do. Now, keep in mind, the commission is not made up of people of all different types of faiths or religions. It's made up largely of conservative Christians and then a couple of rabbis. From recommendations for teachers, coaches, and administrators, defend teachers and and faculty's rights in public-run schools by creating, guess what? A hotline or a portal to report violations. Number 2, hold violators accountable and provide guidance to school districts regarding their obligations to comply with the First Amendment and with other, thank you, Jamie, applicable religious liberty laws and regulations. And 3, guess what they want to do? Limit federal funding for non-compliant districts when feasible. So, good morning, Wilma. Yes, they are using the desegregation laws in reverse. You got it exactly right. Blue Honey Pot, we're reading the Religious Liberty Commission report. Yeah. Recommendations for parents: ensure the constitutional guarantees of religious liberty and parental rights are enjoyed by families of all socioeconomic means. So this is, again, about school choice, where federal funding goes for rich children. Defend parental rights in government-run schools by issuing DOJ guidance as to what parental rights are. Encourage agencies to explore opportunities to create hotlines or portals, again, for students to report. Train school teachers, faculty, and administrators on students' constitutional rights. Hold violators accountable. The strategic litigation. And, of course, limit federal funding. And then they want to create, now this is the part that's absolutely asinine to me. They want to create a joint parental rights task force between the DOJ and DHS to oversee the parental rights recommendations. What? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm just like, what? The military, same stuff. They want to order the Department of War to update and disseminate religious liberty training for military leaders, JAG officers. They want to maintain full applicability of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act in the military, reverse Obama and Biden era restrictions on religious practice and expression, and elevate the importance of, quote unquote, spiritual fitness in military readiness. Now, I feel like this is an appropriate time to interject something about the military. Are y'all ready? Because when I read this shit yesterday, I was like, there's no way this is real. This cannot be real, but it is real. Sorry. There is a unit at Fort Stewart, Georgia, that is offering a 4-day pass for the weekend that Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, so that soldiers can play the video game the weekend that it comes out. And in exchange, all they have to do is re-enlist for between 2 to 6 years. I'm going to repeat it. There is a unit at Fort Stewart, Georgia, that is offering a 4-day pass for the weekend that Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, so their soldiers don't have to report to work and can play the video game all weekend, and all they have to do is re-enlist for 2 to 6 years. They have to sign their re-enlistment papers between August 1st and November 14th. While we're talking about military readiness and fitness, I don't know. I guess that's part of that warrior ethos or some shit. Yeah. I read that and I was like, this can't be real. I was like, is this from The Onion? No, it's real. It's very much real. Mike, you were going to say something?
I said, that's crazy.
Yep, it is, but it is real. It is 100% real. Yeah, a video game, Grand Theft Auto 6. Yep, yep. But it's so that they can have a 4-day pass and they can play the video game. So they can, I don't know, rob and kill people in a video game and, I don't know, pretend to do awful things to people. Yeah, so far, it looks like 20 people have already taken advantage of this offering. There's 130 eligible troops, and 20 of them have already said yes. How about that? It's wild to me that we are, like, we used to re-enlist for like education benefits. We used to re-enlist for like, promotion and things like that, or bonuses even. We did not re-enlist for a 4-day pass to play video games. Just saying. But apparently, this is where we are now. Crazy. It's just crazy work. They want to also order the Department of War to streamline and improve the religious accommodation process. They want to continue efforts to restore the retirement or reenlistment eligibility of service members who lost employment, health insurance, pensions, and other benefits because of their religious beliefs concerning the C-19 vaccine. So they are automatically trying to say that there was something religious that meant that they could not use the C-19 vaccine. Now, let me tell you why that's going to be a little bit problematic for them in the military, is because we get shot up with so much shit. Listen, you don't get a choice in the military when you join as to what you do and don't take. Literally, they just lined our asses up, rolled our sleeves up, and were like, ching, 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 with a gun on both sides. And we just got whatever they said we had to have, right? Right. And then after the flu issue. So the problem is that if this isn't already stated that if they have not refused any other vaccines previously based on religious reasons, they're going to have a hard time using that legitimately in a court case, right? Just saying. Next, the next section is healthcare. Okay. Religion in your healthcare, folks. If that doesn't have the alarm bells going ding 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 ding, oh my son. Okay. Recommendations for religious healthcare workers and institutions. They want to protect religious healthcare workers from being coerced to participate in procedures that violate their religious beliefs. So you do understand that this is not a thing. You do understand that this is not a thing. If you are a physician or someone who works in healthcare and there is something that needs to be done for a patient that violates your religious beliefs, you are not required to participate. The only thing that you do is give them to somebody else that's qualified to do that position. That's all it is you just have to make sure that they get that adequate care from someone else. That's it, because you cannot do harm. Okay. Yeah. So it's not a thing. The fact that this is in here, I'm just like, this is not a thing. They want to restore the Department of Health and Human Services Conscious and Religious Freedom Division. Never mind the fact that we're getting rid of our Civil Rights Division in the Department of Education, but we need a Conscientious and Religious Freedom Division within the Department of Health and Human Services. Instruct the Department of Health and Human Services to distribute Know Your Rights posters, including explanations of the protections of the Church Amendment, and create a portal for healthcare workers to find assistance for religious freedom violations. In other words, spend some money for some shit that's not a problem, right? And then there's an entire section, which this is the part that just gets me. There's an entire section on recommendations for combating anti-Semitism. And I'm very, very pissed. And I want to point out once again how compromised the United States of America is with the state of Israel, when we give those individuals special treatment, and not, if we don't have recommendations for combating Islamophobia, right? If we don't have recommendations for combating transphobia or homophobia or any of those different types of things, get the fuck out of my face with this anti-Semitism, because I'm just going to tell you, I'm not here for it. I'm just not here for it. And there are parts of this that intersect with the Esther Project from the Heritage Foundation. When it says the commission recommends that the DOJ investigate whether anti-Semitic attacks are being funded by T groups. Remember, part of the Esther Project was about saying that if you are an individual that is pro-Palestine and you are anti the government of Israel, then they want to say that you are part of a Hamas support network, an HSN network, right? So just be mindful, because if they can do that to non-governmental offices, organizations, then they can strip them of their 501c3 nonprofit status. If they can do that to individuals, right, then you lose your civil rights, because once you're connected to a belief of terrorism, right, then they no longer have to abide by your civil rights under the Constitution. So it's a very dangerous, very slippery slope, and they are only talking about using it for anti-Semitism. And then the same thing for the private sector. They want to codify protections for religious organizations against debanking. And then they want to order the EEOC to distribute the Know Your Rights information. And so all of this is in that report, is in my link tree for you to go over. Everyone needs to be paying attention to the places where it could impact you and your loved ones, right? What's up, Scotty? So just a reminder. So deep breath. I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to check out the request. I know Jen is up here because of the military, unless you were just typing. Tony, did you mean to request up? I'm guessing no. All right, Jen, what you got for me?
Hey, Dani. I just sit here shaking my head. Listen, you don't get a choice in getting a vaccine.
Right.
You know how much crap I got shot up with after 9/11? The anthrax vaccine, we were guinea pigs for that. It is a 7-shot series over a 6-month period.
That's crazy.
I don't know what they put in my body.
Right. And listen, and it don't matter because they own your body.
Exactly.
That's my thing. This is what I don't think that people understand.
Yeah, I don't think people understand when you sign that contract, you are government property.
100%.
Like you can get counselings and all kinds of stuff for getting sunburns, for getting a tattoo, for breaking something while you're not on duty. Like, you are government property.
You sure are. You sure are. Fuck around and get a toothache and become non-deployable because you ain't got your damn cap done or whatever it is you need.
Right.
Yeah, it is a real thing.
I didn't get a 4-day pass to play a video game when I re-enlisted.
But and it makes me just go, what kind of fucking soldiers do we have?
Yeah.
It does. It makes me go, oh my God, who's enlisting in our military? And then it also makes me go, this is why Iran is not scared.
Exactly.
It just does. I go, oh my God. Because do you really think that anybody in Iran or China or Russia is like, you know what? I need a 4-day pass just so I can play GTA.
Yeah, there were a multitude of reasons why I did not stay in 20 years. The biggest one for me, however, was the type of soldiers that were coming in. From the way that I was mentored when I got in, to how these soldiers were coming out of basic and coming back to the units.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting hemmed up for holding them accountable.
Yeah. I will.
Like,
The last time I visited Post, I was just like, oh, this is how we living now. Okay, because it just yeah.
I had a female come back from basic training and couldn't run 2 miles. So I smoked the shit out of her because that's what they would have done to us. And I got in trouble for that. And I was like, you know what?
So for those of y'all that don't know what "smoke the shit out of her" means, it means she ran her ass till she dropped. That's what it means. When you get smoked, listen. Woof. I'm just saying. You know what, Jim? This is no lie. My last duty station, I used to love when I got to lead PT because I had a commander. So listen, I for lack of a better way to describe it, I'm a little thick around the thighs and the hips and whatever. I got a little junk in the trunk, right? So I do not like to run. Fuck that. I do not like to run. Plus, I have like bad knee issues and all those things, right? Hello, Allah, shack. So my commander was a white dude with real skinny legs with a little beer belly, and he loved to run because that's the only thing he could do, right? And so when I led PT, it tended to be because so here was the thing: when I was stationed in Alaska, you could not do PT outside if it was negative 20 degrees, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes even if it was negative 10, if the wind chill was enough or whatever, we did it inside. And so they used to hate to see that shit coming from me because I would be, we'd be doing our sit-ups and I'd be like, up, halfway down, Rocky, quarter down, halfway up. Like, oh my God, he fucking could not. And I laughed. It was my, it was my one day that I would just wax that ass.
Like the first sergeant, he sent me all of the soldiers that were having issues and needed a little bit of tender loving care.
Not tender loving care.
Because I don't, like, I'm not a running person either. I'm thick in the thighs and I hated it. So we did other things. And I was mentored old school. So you do those cherry pickers and you do all the stuff that,
yeah, 100%.
And, you know,
yeah.
if you ain't sweating and almost dying by the end of it, you ain't doing it right.
Listen, I remember.
So I get these soldiers that are there today, like they're not.
It's not the same.
Standards are not there.
Yeah, it's not the same. Listen, I remember
all you have to do is
every day after PT, hands up, like hands above your head. Why? So you don't throw up. That's why.
Yeah.
So you don't throw up. Damn it.
All you have to do is look at those videos of Hexep doing PT half-assed.
Stop it. He's such an embarrassment. But anyway.
Such an embarrassment.
Yeah. So for those of y'all who are like just joining, we're discussing a couple of different things. We are discussing two things. Number one, the Religious Liberty Commission put together by the president recommending that there be protections for military who lost, who were basically, they had a choice. They could either get out or whatever if they didn't want to get the C-19 shot. And so we were talking about the fact that you don't get a choice about vaccines when you are military. You just get what they give you. And then number two, we were talking about the fact that there is a unit in Fort Stewart, Georgia right now that is offering a 4-day pass that coincides with the weekend that Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out. And soldiers can have that 4-day pass to play that video game that whole weekend in exchange for re-enlisting for 2 to 6 years. It's available to 130 soldiers, and so far about 20 have said yes.
They're doing, in my mind, they're doing that because they don't have
the recruitment numbers.
They don't have the recruitment numbers. They don't have the funds to do the re-enlistment contracts.
Yes, the bonuses, all the things that would normally come with re-enlisting.
Yeah, I didn't get bonuses when I re-enlisted. I don't know what that is.
Yeah. But, we used to re-enlist for all different types of reasons, but not for a weekend off to play fucking video games.
No. That's crazy.
It just sounds wild. But when I first saw it, Jen, I was like, this can't be real. And then I was like, oh my God, this is real.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
And they,
When your reenlistment numbers are down, you have to have bonuses.
I think that's what people forget is that our military is all volunteer.
Yeah.
No one's conscripted.
Right. So, hey, Megan. So, Gumps has a question. And the question was, having served, do we think that there's a benefit to pushing people or dealing with fitness training in this manner? When we were talking about smoking people, and my short answer is going to be yes. I do. Because, and here's the thing, there's a difference between dehumanizing or belittling someone and pushing them to their absolute physical limit. And there's a difference. So you can smoke someone's ass without dehumanizing them, without violating who they are as a human being or violating their civil rights. But absolutely. So I'm just going to tell you, there is a discipline that is required to serve. And there is a readiness and a fitness that needs to be present. And you must develop the ability to be pushed. I promise you, if they are captured by somebody, they better be able to withstand being fucking smoked. They better be able to dig deep and find something a little bit more to go further. Nobody I'm just saying, it's not just about, it's not just about the physical piece of it. That's part of it, but there is a mental piece of it that goes along with service. So yeah.
If I can't get somebody to push themselves physically to get through PT, which is like an hour long, am I really going to trust them to have my back when I'm rolling down the street? Nope.
Right. And so, yeah.
Just showing the mental fortitude to push even if you fail,
Mm-hmm.
that speaks volumes.
Yes. And there's a difference between that and like some of the hazing that goes on in some of the special forces and different things like that. I am not suggesting hazing. Jen is not suggesting hazing and those types of things. Nobody's suggesting that. What we are suggesting, though, is being a hard ass when it comes to PT and being able to push yourself physically beyond those boundaries that you thought you had mentally. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be able to push yourself. And if you can't, there's an issue.
100%.
I had a soldier that completely just lost it as far as being able to be a soldier. He was getting in a lot of trouble, and I could have browbeat him and dehumanized him, all this other stuff. I smoked the crap out of him. I let him be mad for a little bit, and then we sat down and had a conversation, and 6 months later, he won Soldier of the Month. Like, there's a difference.
Do you know I won Soldier of the Month, but also for the company, the battalion, and Soldier of the Year for Soldier of the Month, the company, the battalion, and the brigade.
True.
I did.
And that's awesome. But I was also proud of him because we were doing it. This all happened to him while we were in Afghanistan, which just adds another layer
to it. Yeah.
So that's what we talk about. Like when we smoke soldiers, it's not to dehumanize them; it's to build something. And then, as a human, you sit down and you have a conversation with them, and you build a rapport, and you get them to buy into themselves.
Yep.
We don't have that in the military right now.
Yeah. So, you don't hear it broken down like that often. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. You can have some, baby. You want me to open them for you? No, you got it. Yeah, there's a difference, and this is important, right? Good morning, Don Juan. And there's other vets in the chat that are also chiming in, Gums, right? There is a difference, like I said, between dehumanizing and hazing and pushing people to their absolute limits, because sometimes people don't even know what their limits are themselves, and sometimes people have never been pushed. And it does create, because what it says too, not only does it say that I can do this, it says that the person that is smoking me, believe it or not, believes that I can do it too, right? There's a reason that they are investing in this time and this energy in me, right? And not just Article 15 in my ass out. So, or whatever. So I'm just saying, yeah, it's different. So it's just when it's done in the proper manner. So, but thanks you're welcome, Knight. Yeah, thanks for asking though, Gums. Great question. So it's just really important. Yeah, you need help. it's just important for people to know kind of all the things that are going on, how they may or may not impact you and affect you. Here you go, love bug.
And this is why I will always say that we
Can I
need
see your
females
forehead
in
for just a
leadership
second?
roles in the military.
Okay, no fever right now. Okay.
Because all the females that I know in the military are a bunch of hard asses, but they also understand the human side of it.
Yeah. And you've got to have that. Well, if you want it to be really productive, you know what I mean? So just saying, yeah. Appreciate it, Kenny. Was there anybody else? Well, there was somebody, I think your name was Lightning or some shit, but I can't see you now. You're gone. So I was going to bring you up. Bella, they said, feel better, Miracle Girl. She's over there eating some Teddy Grahams of some sort, watching TV. So, okay. Yeah, you can hang out, Jen, or you can drop or whatever makes you happy. Let me find the next thing that I talked about last night that I want to make sure that I talk about today. Oh my geez. Can you move over? Thank you. Yes, baby cakes. Oh, this is another one that is incredibly important. And I talked about it last night. And listen, it first came out. Yeah. It came out back in the spring, but because we are further along in the process, ProPublica has been talking about their article again. And so I'm going to talk about it again as well. So let me ask you a question. How many of you all know someone that gets SSI, Social Security income? Put a 1 in the chat if you know somebody that gets SSI. So this next part is about a new rule that's being proposed by this administration that would impact SSI benefits, specifically for disabled folks. So I'm going to share it with you. Are you ready? So this is the title, and this is from ProPublica. The Trump administration aims to penalize disabled adults who live with their families, even if those families qualify for SNAP benefits and aid. Okay. So a rule change that's been pushed by White House officials would slash benefits or end support for as many as 400,000 Social Security income recipients with Down syndrome, dementia, and other disabilities whose parents or relatives receive SNAP benefits. Now, what's important is that when you go to actually read this rule change, it doesn't sound like this. Okay, it sounds different, but here's what they're doing. They are expanding the things that they can consider as income. And so when they expand it to include SNAP benefits, then all of a sudden it reduces how much you're able to get, because they are counting those SNAP benefits as part of your income so that they can justify reducing the amount of your aid. Okay, so let me share the rest of it with you. So this would penalize people for simply living in the same home as their families. The administration is working on a rule change that would deduct the value of a disabled adult's bedroom from their SSI allotment, even if the family members they live with are poor enough to qualify for food stamps. This would mean slashing the benefits of some of the most low-income SSI recipients by up to a third, which is about $330 a month for someone that's getting $994 a month. Or it could end their support altogether. The effort to cut SSI for families who also rely on food stamps, also known as SNAP, was initiated by top White House and Department Government Efficiency, which is DOGE, last year. Multiple Social Security officials said it marks a second attempt by the Trump administration to quietly but dramatically downsize disability benefits overseen by the Social Security Administration. They had a different proposal previously that they abandoned after ProPublica did a story on it, and there was a lot of public outcry. So this is their second attempt to do that. So the SSI cut will affect not just younger adults with disabilities such as Down syndrome and severe autism who are still living at home with their low-income parents, but also older people with health or financial problems who have had to move in with their adult children on tight budgets, and indigent older people. So in total, it's as many as 400,000 poor and disabled people and indigent older people could have their support cut or eliminated. So the reason, and so they're going to go into a little bit greater detail, but the reason that this will especially affect SNAP families, yes, this is a my Linktree dolphin, is because it's a little complicated, but if a household has already demonstrated its poverty via SNAP or other public assistance programs, through, because like SNAP and public assistance programs require very extensive income reporting requirements. You have to submit a lot of paperwork to prove that you qualify. Then the family is officially deemed unable to financially support a disabled loved one living at home, right? So if you qualify for SNAP, then that means that you can't support another person living at home. The typical SNAP household that is also supporting a person who gets SSI has an annual total income of just $17,000, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. The Trump rule will undo this approach. It won't matter if the SNAP program has already determined that the family is poor enough to get aid. Anyone living at home beyond the age of 18 without paying full rent will be treated as if they have a benefactor, and the value of their bedroom, as well as any income and assets their family may have, will be calculated and recalculated as often as every month and deducted from their SSI check. So this is under, like, they're doing their revision right now. And then once it's returned back to the Social Security Administration and it's published for the first time, there will be an opportunity for public comment. It could take until next year to be finalized, depending upon the amount of opposition that it faces. Okay. Let me see if I can. I want to see. I'm looking for. There it is. So, let me give you what it says. Ooh. Okay, wait, is this the one that got ended already? Give me a sec, folks. I want to just see really quickly. Okay, so this looks like. So what I need to confirm now is it looks like, and this did not look like this before, but it looks like they are attempting to rescind the final rule. They proposed to rescind the final rule by removing removable from the list of income payments. So here's what it looks like. And I'll have to double back and verify. But it looks like that because once again of their, I just want to make sure, let me check one more thing. Yeah, it looks like that they are now going to abandon doing this again, um, because, hey, Sissy, can you turn it down just a little bit? It looks like they're now going to abandon it again because of the public outcry. But I would keep an eye on it. And I would also the link so there's the story is in my the ProPublica link is in my link tree. You can click on it where it says that it is a federal regulatory listing. You can click on that, and there's an email address and a phone number where you can verify it. This is about the change that for SSI, the final rule change that would have hurt people with disabilities and that are staying with families that have SNAP benefits. So we'll see. Now, here's my thing. I think it's great if they are rescinding it. My thing is simply this. Why was it even a thing to start with? This was something that was proposed under Doge. And all it was something else that would be harmful. They can't sneak it in, Lavonda. There's a whole process that has to go through. So they can't sneak it in. And so it's just really important, folks, that we ask, not just, we can't just sit back and say, oh, well, this is, oh, it's great that they've rescinded it, right? Because they did the same thing. How many of you all remember, and I know that Jen and I do, definitely, but how many of you all remember the interim final rule change that they did regarding veterans and their benefits this year? How many of you all know what I'm talking about when I talk about the interim final rule change that they tried to implement for veterans this year? I see yeses and nos. So what they were going to do is they were going to reduce or eliminate disability compensation payments for veterans if they took medication for whatever their condition is. So if you're a disabled vet and you have PTSD and you take medication for that PTSD, then they were going to reduce your disability compensation or take it away from you if you took medication. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you what my VA therapist said to me. She said, do you know how many veterans I will have that are no longer taking meds?
I had that conversation.
Yep. I said, fuck all of them. Right. And it was.
There is still some things that the VA does where vets don't get compensation. And I'll give you a really, really good example of myself. I was able to prove that I got stage 3 breast cancer for my time in Afghanistan. Is it combat related? Yes. Am I rated for it? Yes. But you know what my rating for that is? 0%.
Yes.
Because I'm not actively being treated.
Yeah, they do that as well. And they have what they call a combined rating system.
Yeah.
So listen, if you have, let's say you already have a 60% disability through the VA, you're rated at 60%. And then you get a separate rating for a different disability, and that disability is rated at 40%. You would think that means you now get 100% from the VA, but you don't. You're probably going to get 70%, maybe 80%, because they have a combined rating table where they have fucking different math. Or if you've been getting compensation for one thing and then they give you something for something else, they can defer your disability compensation for other things that you were previously service connected for and previously getting money for. Yeah. So again, they don't give a fuck about us.
When vets talk about how they have to fight for their benefits, like it took me 3 years to prove that, one, it wasn't genetic.
Right.
2, that I had secondary complications because of the breast cancer to get those because that's the way you get around it, or not around it. I guess that's the way you get the benefits is by showing those secondary complications, like the neuropathy and the nerve damage and the I guess you would call it body dysmorphia because it was an amputation.
Right.
People don't understand that, but it was an amputation. So all these things you have to show all of this stuff that's happened to you in order to get the basic care needed.
Yep, 100%. And so it's just wild. But yeah, so again, these are these rule changes that people don't understand because they don't have to go through Congress. These are administrative rule changes that can drastically impact the livelihood of thousands, if not millions, of Americans. And so these are things that people ought to know. In this case, we were talking about Social Security income, but the same has been true in terms of rule changes for veterans care and all of that. Now, they also had to rescind the interim final rule change after the DAV and other organizations were like, are you fucking nuts? Pretty much, right? And so after all of the public outcry, then they backed off of it. Had there not been public outcry, if no one had brought attention to it, they would have just done it and we would have been fucked. So yeah, just so that we're clear, they don't really care about us.
No, they don't. And to answer Marky's question, it's not a too bad, so sad. It's a combat related disability versus a non-combat related disability. I was able to prove that it wasn't genetic. I was able to get the environmental studies from my time in Afghanistan to show that because I was subjected to like 2 inches worth of documents that's where I got it from. So it's a stupid process. It's a lengthy process. It's time consuming, and a lot of vets give up.
And yes, Gump said it's probably traumatic. No, it is. It's not probably traumatic. It is. It is traumatic. And one of the things that I've talked about, when we've talked about MST, which is military sexual trauma, and what it takes, you are literally asking women to go against the system that perpetrated what happened to them, and oftentimes either defended or protected the men that did it. In a largely male-led industry like the military, it's just very, it's very, very traumatic. So good day, Marilyn. But I wanted to go over the SSI change, the proposed rule change, so that people were aware. This next one, geez, oh Pete, you guys. So first, let me just say this, because I do want to be fair. The CDC actually began abortion surveillance in 1969. Okay. However, the new CDC director desires to, I don't know if y'all know, we've been without a CDC director for an illegal amount of time. We are required to have a CDC director, and we haven't had one in a fucking year. And so now we have one. And her first, really outspoken, order of business that she thought we really need to be worried about is abortion surveillance. And she said, quote, that abortion surveillance is essential for the CDC. Her statement was, and this is an article from The Guardian that I can also drop in the link tree for you. She said, hold on. She said, quote, abortion surveillance is absolutely a critical component of what the CDC is currently doing. I also want to make sure that certain states, I wonder which states she means, are not conflating emergency services and hiding abortions in that emergency services case definition. Thank you, Life. It's absolutely wild to me. So this is the first time in almost a year that we've had a permanent leader. If you were with me, we've covered the previous CDC director and the previous chief medical doctor's testimony before Congress about the CDC, and we've talked about all of those things. So, I'm just okay. Josh Hawley asked her during her confirmation hearing whether she would commit to collecting detailed data on abortions. And she said, quote, "The system is voluntary. And so a number of states, not coincidentally, large blue states, do not turn over any data, so that it's difficult to get a picture of just how many abortions and under what circumstances are committed in this country. We do know the numbers are going way up. That's not true." Right? And then she said, "Senator, you have my commitment. Abortion surveillance is absolutely critical, absolutely a critical component of what the CDC is currently doing. I also want to make sure that certain states are not conflating emergency services and hiding abortions in that emergency services case definition. We need to make sure we're pulling out true abortions and making sure that we're really having clear case definitions regarding abortion so the data is actually accurate." Josh Hawley's response was tremendous. Verbiage that is alarming to me: true abortions, hiding abortions, and her specifically talking about blue states and it being voluntary. Now, let me just say this. Do you all know that reporting when an officer is involved in a firearm that results in a death, did you know that that is voluntary? Did you all know that police departments across the country are not required to report to the federal government when their officers take someone else's life? Did y'all know that?
As someone who worked for a police department, I can verify that. You do not have to report. It's the department's choice to report it.
It is voluntary. So if we are going to start talking about ensuring that things are fucking reported, okay, I before we talk about, oh, it's voluntary and large blue states aren't giving you data about the number of abortions that happen in their states, guess what? It's voluntary for police departments to tell you whether or not their officers are killing people. So guess what? Like, can we have some priorities? Because literally one of them is bodily autonomy and decisions between an individual and healthcare professionals. But no, but that's true. That's a true thing. So I wanted to also add in here, if you remember during Todd Blanche's confirmation process, he said that efforts to reverse the Biden administration's efforts to protect abortion were, quote unquote, taking longer than we want. And so he seemed to suggest that the administration was working to restrict access to AD pills and said, quote, "We don't have complete victory yet, but we will have victory, and victory will be soon, and it will be permanent." I'm going to say that again. The Attorney General that was just confirmed said, with regard to access to abortion and abortion medication, quote, "It's taking longer than we want. We don't have complete victory yet, but we will have victory, and victory will be soon, and it will be permanent." My personal opinion is they will go after birth control next. That's my personal opinion. Okay. Okay. Afternoon, Kat. Hey, Deborah. It's a lot, right? It's a lot. Okay, so let me just check really quickly and ask a couple of questions for folks that are in the queue. Lori, did you mean to request up? Sabina, did you mean to request up? And Lida Lida, I don't know. I know I'm mispronouncing your name because I'm pronouncing it 3 different ways, but did you mean to request up? No, okay, no worries. I got you. I'm looking to see. Okay. All right, can I switch gears for a second? And I want to share, and I'm going to share, I'm just going to tell you what got me going down this road a little bit. I am very, very tired of seeing exceptionalism showing up in this country when it comes to religion, specifically when it comes to Christianity, conservative Christianity, and Zionism. Okay. Which Zionism is not a religion, but they equate Zionism with Judaism, even though it's not the same thing. I want to be very clear. Zionism is not Judaism. But what happens is when Jewish people equate, or Christian Zionists, when Zionists equate criticism of Israel with Jewish people, right? And you equate that as if that is anti-Semitic, then you are the ones that are bringing about what you believe an increase in anti-Semitism, but it is because you are making a correlation that is not accurate. And you're doing that because you want people to be scared to criticize the government of Israel. But that is not happening. In fact, the exact opposite is happening. So what's up, Pin 1010? So this thing is very frustrating to me. I am tired of seeing this double standard when it comes to particular religions. And after reading the Religious Liberty Commission, and they keep talking about these rights to be able to practice your religious faith, I also want to talk about why we aren't holding religious leaders and religious organizations accountable when they are actually doing harm or breaking the law, right? And so we could talk about like examples, like why did it take so long to get Warren Jeffs? Why has it taken so long to deal with some of these religious groups that are causing harm, right? How come we're not doing anything about conversion therapy when it is absolutely child abuse and those types of things? And so there's a story that I want to share with you all that is specifically about this. Okay. And I'm just so listen, trigger warning. This story contains detailed descriptions of children and babies dying. So this is your trigger warning right now, folks. Okay. So first, what I'm going to do is give you the reporting highlights before I dive into the actual reporting itself. Okay. So take a deep breath, get a drink of water, light your sage, whatever it is you might need to do. Yes, baby. You want me to open it? There you go, sweet girl. Okay. There's a particular religious organization. It's actually not an organization. It is a faith healing sect. So they believe in faith and healing. And they are in Idaho. And almost every year since 2015, children in this faith healing sect have died of treatable conditions such as pneumonia and bacterial infections that turn to sepsis. The church doctrine of this sect, former members of the Followers of Christ sect say that parents are pressured to follow doctrine that forbids medical care. Those who stray risk shunning. Oregon officials say After the state put legal boundaries on faith healing, more parents sought care for kids. Idaho, by contrast, has kept its faith healing protections. Um, I'm going to share my screen over here on this side so that you guys can see it. There's a particular picture. In this picture, you cannot see the faces of the adults. There's a woman sitting in a brown chair. Think of like it looks like a recliner, and she's wearing a long skirt. She's wearing a black t-shirt. They're holding hands in a circle. She's barefoot. In her lap is a pillow and a bundle, like a blue blanket bundle. And I'm going to read to you the description that is underneath this image. Newborn baby Malachi lies in the lap of his mother after dying from pneumonia and bleeding lungs, preventable conditions that could have been treated in a hospital in 2023 in Idaho. Since the 1970s, the state's criminal and civil laws have allowed parents who belong to followers of Christ and other faith healing sects to pray as their children die, rather than seek medical care. Now I'm going to read you the actual reporting, okay? So just bear with me. I might have to stop and take a drink, but I think that this is important. This is important. A sheriff deputy opens the door of an Idaho farmhouse where a newborn baby has just died. It's almost 10 p.m., but the house is filled with adults and children seated anywhere they can find a spot, in reclining chairs, on the wood stove hearth, on a chest of drawers. Some of the women hold babies in their laps. Sorry, the deputy whispers as the door creaks. No one greets the officer. Okay, Don Juan, I got you. No one speaks or even looks at anyone else, casting their eyes instead at the floor or around the room. The deputy's video camera records as he walks through the front room and past a bedroom door adorned with children's artwork. Inside the bedroom, newborn Malachi's mother sits in a recliner. His body lies in her lap, covered by a blue blanket. As people in uniform ask Malachi's parents about his birth, death, and the 2 days in between, members of the family's church, one of at least 4 followers of Christ churches in Idaho, watch from folding chairs. People come and go from the bedroom. One woman cradles a sleeping toddler. Malachi died from pneumonia and bleeding lungs, according to an autopsy. It would have been treatable with antibiotics and newborn care in a hospital, said doctors who reviewed his death records for ProPublica. But Malachi's parents belong to a faith healing sect that doesn't believe in medical care based on a literal interpretation of several Bible verses. The Followers of Christ sect believes that God heals the faithful and that life and death must be left to God's divine will. When the coroner's deputy lifted Malachi's body to take it away that night in October of 2023, there was no wailing or sobbing from his parents. Malachi's father stood quietly as his mother hung her head and rested it in her hand. A pediatrician who reviewed Malachi's death record said a baby in his condition would have been gasping for air, turning blue from lack of oxygen, and breathing so hard that the outline of his rib cage was visible. It was the first time the coroner and sheriff sent their deputies out to that house to interview those parents and document the slow suffocation of a newborn boy. The next time was 13 months later, when their next newborn, Liam, died from the same treatable condition that killed his brother Malachi. In any Idaho household not steeped in faith healing, those two deaths would be investigated as crimes. Idaho law says parents can't endanger, injure, or neglect their children or let them suffer. To do so is a crime. And if the child dies as a result, the parent could be charged with manslaughter. But those laws do not apply to children like Malachi and Liam. Since the 1970s, Idaho's criminal and civil laws have allowed parents who belong to the followers of Christ and the state's other faith healing sects to pray rather than seek medical care as their children die. Lawmakers in Oregon, where the same religious groups exist, removed the state's faith healing exception to child abuse laws nearly 30 years ago, countering the overwhelming pressure from former followers say parents face from their congregations. More parents then chose to get medical care for their children after the change, Oregon prosecutors and detectives said. Idaho lawmakers have chosen a different path. Since 2014, they have rejected repeated efforts to dial back Idaho's faith healing exception, instead, crafting legislation to further limit the role of anyone but a parent when it comes to children's health and safety. The state has codified parental rights, banned vaccine requirements in schools and childcare centers, and made parental consent a prerequisite for medical care for minors. Legislators have also tried to narrow the definition of quote unquote medical neglect for all families to only the most life-threatening situations, but those attempts have failed. Local and national media outlets have reported on deaths among followers of Christ families in Idaho. ProPublica went further, enlisting the help of experts to determine which of those deaths could have been prevented. ProPublica gathered death records from coroners and police in 5 Idaho counties and shared them with more than a dozen pediatricians and birthing specialists. At least 15 babies and children have, from the faith healing sect, died between 2015 and 2025 from illnesses that doctors could have successfully treated, the experts concluded. I'm going to repeat that part. At least 15 babies and children from the faith healing sect died between 2015 and 2025 from illnesses that could have been successfully treated by doctors, according to the experts. The estimate of preventable deaths is almost certainly an undercount. The experts could not evaluate 6 more deaths because coroner records were incomplete or unavailable. In another 4 cases, they couldn't say with confidence whether the medical care would have changed the outcome. Separately, the experts identified numerous preventable losses of babies who died during birth or in utero very close to their due dates, cases that coroners labeled as stillbirths. Listen to me. I'm going to say that again. Separately, outside of those other 15, the experts identified numerous preventable losses of babies who died during childbirth or in utero very close to their due dates, and the coroners labeled them as stillbirths, but they were preventable. For some families, like Liam and Malachi's, the death of a child wasn't a one-time tragedy. Records show at least 5 sets of parents have lost multiple children, a phenomenon that has not previously been reported. None of the parents responded to letters or text messages from ProPublica, and one declined to comment during a brief phone call. ProPublica is choosing not to identify them or use the children's full names out of respect for their privacy. But Nathan Kangas, a patriarch in the Sex Caldwell, Idaho church, defended faith healing and its legal protection during an interview with ProPublica. Children and babies can't make their own decisions to rely on faith healing. Kangas said their parents must keep them away from the doctor to set an example. so the young ones won't be cursed later in life by turning to medicine. Kangas lost his own wife and their child and their last child during labor 23 years ago. 3 of his 65 grandchildren have also died. Asked why God would not want children to live full and healthy lives, Kangas said he had no answer, but he quoted a verse from the book of Psalms. Quote, "Precious in the eyes of the Lord are the deaths of his saints." End quote. The followers believe that life on earth is, quote, "a preparing ground," Kangas said. He pointed to the book of James, which tells people to, quote, "be afflicted and mourn and weep," and, quote, "let your laughter be turned to mourning." Quote, "it isn't necessarily that we're supposed to have a joyous life here," Kangas said. Quote, "it's actually quite the opposite." Some outsiders take a very different view. Canyon County Sheriff Kieran Donahue, one of the most vocal opponents of Idaho's faith healing laws, has sent deputies to follow up on the deaths of at least 10 followers' children and infants since he took office in 2013. "This is needless," Donahue said. "This shouldn't be happening." David Peterman, a retired Idaho physician, reviewed the deaths of 18 infants and children at ProPublica's request. Peterman saw patients for 40 years and did his residency at a center that offered special training in child abuse and neglect. He said the vast majority of the deaths where he reviewed for ProPublica, quote, "are the result of neglect and unequivocally preventable." He couldn't tell whether a few deaths were preventable, and he surmised that one infant had a fatal untreatable chromosomal defect. He said it was, quote unquote, "beyond comprehension that the Idaho legislature has refused to change the law." "How is this tolerable?" he said. "I don't understand how there could be an exception in Idaho law that allows for these children to die." Y'all doing all right? There's more. Take a deep breath because we're going to get into the stuff that's very triggering. Yeah, baby. I'm gonna hug. I love you. Will you go get the ointment and put it around your nose? Okay, so here we go. Macy was 16 years old, but the size of a third grader. No, that wasn't it, Kat. Macy was 16 years old, but the size of a third grader. 62 pounds and just shy of 4 feet tall. She had suffered from a constellation of ailments: stomach irritation, severe anemia, erratic menstrual periods, a blocked artery, thickened aorta, and thinning hair. An autopsy after she died on New Year's Day 2019 traced it all back to a benign, treatable pituitary tumor. Doctors who reviewed her death record said her stunted growth would have been obvious earlier in childhood when her tumor could have been diagnosed and treated. Instead, it sent her body into a hormonal tailspin that destroyed her organs. She died in bed, lying on a towel and an absorbent pad, wearing a diaper under her sweatpants and a t-shirt that read "Love." Get the ointment that's on the stand beside my bed, baby. Sissy, stop reading. Get the ointment, the tube of ointment. There's a white tube of ointment that's beside the bed that the doctor prescribed for you. I told you guys it was going to be rough. I just think that it's really important that we talk about this and why there seems to be this exception. Because you and I both know that if this was happening in a Muslim household in this country, Christians would be up in arm and they'd be talking about how barbaric they are. There's zero accountability for extremist actions that happen in this country under the banner of Christianity, and I just believe that hypocrisy has to be pointed out. Next paragraph. Some of the children who died preventable deaths over a decade were sick for hours or days. Others endured for months. Or, need help? Okay. Here, just use this for now, Sissy. Or in Macy's case, she had years of disease. Most died in their parents' arms. Many would have experienced pain and distress from their untreated conditions, the health professionals consulted by ProPublica said. I don't know how to come to terms with that, said Beth Hartman, an Idaho midwife and former chair of the state's midwifery licensing board. Because when you see respiratory distress and when you've seen a person pass, it's not pretty. They don't just close their eyes, end quote. In America at large, the risk that a child will die is highest during the first year of life. The vast majority of followers' children who died were infants. But nationally, fatalities in this age group tend to follow premature birth or profound congenital disorders. The deaths among followers' infants came from ailments that rarely take children's lives. At least 3 children died from sepsis caused by common infections that antibiotics can easily stop. No, CPS is governed by the state laws, Dolphin. It doesn't matter what CPS says. The state law provides an exception for this faith healing sect specifically. The state makes an exception for the abuse of children because of these people's religion. I just want you all to understand what I'm saying to you. The state legislature has said it is okay that you allow these children to die and that they are allowed to suffer simply because of your faith. At least 3 children died from sepsis caused by common infections that antibiotics can easily stop. Yeah, the state sets up the laws for CPS that CPS can go by. Yes. Camden died in 2024. Weston died in 2025. They were brothers. Stanley, a newborn whose parents said he was quote unquote alert and happy for his first 36 hours, spent the next 29 hours getting darker in color, coughing up phlegm, and clenching his limbs in convulsions. He died in 2017. The deaths almost never came without warning. In the case of Malachi, the police and coroner reports don't say how long before his death his parents first noticed him breathing fast, making a gurgling noise, quote, like stuff was in his throat or chest, end quote. Yeah. Nor do the documents say what the parents did in the interim, other than they, quote, chose not to perform life-saving measures, end quote. But when they noticed their next newborn, Liam, was struggling to breathe and his quote, color was not good, they again did not call for help. And he died over the course of at least 12 hours. While he was dying, members of their church came to see the baby. Stand over here to the side and read, baby. Came to see the baby and pray for him. 10 people were in the room when the boy died, and more had gathered outside the room, Liam's father told police. It's rare in developed countries for children to die from pneumonia, as Liam and Malachi did, wrote Barton Adrian, a retired Idaho pediatrician who reviewed the death records for ProPublica. The annual pneumonia-related death rate in the U.S. for infants is 1 in every 30 to 40,000, according to federal data. Adrian wrote that with a total of 12 children in Malachi and Liam's family, the death rate was 1 in 6, which is the equivalent to third world countries. Several healthcare professionals who reviewed the death records for Malachi and Liam suspected their problems originated from a birth-related strep infection so dangerous that expectant mothers in the U.S. are routinely screened for it. So, Lisa, they are part of a faith healing sect. They do not believe in getting medical care, so they don't. Women who test positive get antibiotics to keep the baby safe. In cases where a full-term newborn does become infected, almost all who receive treatment survive. Dallas, a 2-year-old, was sick for 6 weeks with an untreated bacterial infection that settled into a valve in his heart. Okay. I'm trying to see. I want to make sure that you're not in the picture, babe. Huh? It's right here. Dallas, a 2-year-old, was sick for 6 weeks with an untreated bacterial infection that settled into a valve in his heart and slowly destroyed it. He had fevers, abdominal pain, vomiting, and swelling that started in his feet, then spread to his hands, and finally to his face. 2 years old. He died in his father's arms in 2020. Although an autopsy found that Dallas was born with a heart condition that made him susceptible to infections, doctors who reviewed the document for ProPublica said the condition was treatable and antibiotics would have halted the infection. Had his parents taken him to a doctor at any point during the 6 weeks they knew he was sick, Dallas could have been saved, the doctor said. Whenever a child dies in the Followers of Christ is the name of the faith healing sect, the scene is unlike anything police see in deaths outside the sect. Police describe what seems to be a phone tree the church members use to call on the congregation to pray and to go to the family's home, sometimes before the death, sometimes after. A church elder or family member calls the coroner directly instead of calling 911. The sheriff's deputies and local police who accompany the coroner's team to the death scene have learned what to expect. There won't be an ambulance parked outside. There won't be a frantic, inconsolable parent. There won't be children's ibuprofen in the medicine cabinet or a pediatrician's phone number to call for medical records. All the police will find, gotta step over here, baby, is a crowd sitting in silent vigil and a bottle of olive oil for anointing the ill. Yeah, some rebel. This is specifically about, so folks, so the reason why there is no investigation is because they are allowed to let their children die. The law in their state, the law in Idaho says that because their religious belief is not to seek medical care, they are allowed to let their children be sick, to suffer, and to die in pain with no assistance because their religion is that. The law, right. So here's what it is. The law that would normally protect them has an exception in it specifically for these faith healing sects. That's what this is. There's an exception specifically for this faith healing sect. And because, right, Marky, because there is no crime, there is no investigation. There is little for police to do besides offer condolences, ask questions, and carry out their legal duty to confirm the parents did nothing that constitutes a crime in Idaho. And yet some of these cases are etched into officers' memories. For Chuck Gentry, a captain in the Canyon County Sheriff's Office, it was a baby girl named Jolene who died at 3 months old from a congenital heart defect. Some doctors told ProPublica that a cardiologist's care could have saved her, although some suspected she also had a chromosomal defect that only 10% of babies survive past their first year. What haunts Gentry was the lack of medical attention for the baby's cleft palate, which he recalls was severe. She died at an address that's become familiar to local police because children from 4 followers' families have died there since 2017. Jolene's father, reached by phone, declined to talk with ProPublica. Gentry echoed what other investigators told ProPublica. By the time detectives arrived, the congregation has already assembled. Dozens of people, Gentry said. So many vehicles that he'd sometimes struggle to find a place to park his patrol car. Once he'd get inside, he said, the grandparents of a dead child would make it hard for him to get to the child's parents alone to ask them questions. They're very hovery. They don't want you to separate them off. They kind of seem overprotective of what they might say. Gangus, the Caldwell church elder, said the congregation's presence at a dead child's home isn't meant as intimidation. Quote, they're not there to keep from saying anything. That's absolutely false. We as a people, when somebody suffers, we go there to suffer with them, end quote. Gentry said it wasn't until he got the parents alone in another room that their grief would spill out. Quote, you see the mom crying. You see the dad kind of pacing. It's normal behavior for someone who has lost a child. But the death itself and the scene that follows it are, quote, so bizarre that normal still isn't normal. Jolene was her parents' first child to die, they told police. Other investigators arrived at the scene for the next, the couple's toddler son, Malone, in 2021. Written reports from a pathologist and death investigators described the body that detectives saw. Arms and legs skinny from malnourishment, a belly swollen to the size of a basketball. Malone never had normal bowel movements in his 16 months of life. Let me say that again. Malone never had normal bowel movements in his 16 months of life, his parents would later tell investigators. His belly would swell, then he'd have an enormous poop, and the cycle would repeat. As his condition worsened, his mother brought him to his grandparents' house on a busy country road. She held him while he died. An autopsy determined that the boy's bowels had compressed his lungs and heart, which stopped beating. His rib cage had grown outward to accommodate his backed up intestines, and his lungs were so cramped they had stayed the size of a newborn's. One detective wrote that Malone's abdomen was, quote, distorted to the extent of nothing like I've ever seen before, end quote. The underlying problem was an intestinal condition that doctors can fix with a routine, minimally invasive surgery, experts who reviewed Malone's death record said. The day Malone died, investigators arrived to find dozens of family and friends at the house. Malone's mother sat in the front room in a chair, holding the child's covered body in her lap. Malone's father knelt beside them. A detective asked the parents in a quiet voice, according to audio recordings from the scene, did Malone have trouble going to the bathroom? Had he been to a doctor? Did they have any other children? Where was Malone when he died? They gave brief answers, volunteering few details. The entire interaction took about 10 minutes. The paperwork wrapped up, and the case was closed. The followers of Christ sparked curiosity in Idaho from the time that they arrived in 1899. Two, quote, wayfarers from Oklahoma appeared in a mining town near what is now Sun Valley, calling themselves, quote, the disciples of a new religion, end quote. They said God sent them to spread their gospel, according to reporting from the time in the Idaho Statesman. Quote, one was tall and dark, about 30 years of age, and wore a pair of greasy overalls, black and baggy sweater, and flaring yellow Mackinaw coat, a reporter wrote. The man went by, quote, Brother Charlie. He was decidedly illiterate, quote, and preached that education wasn't necessary, but had an impressive knowledge of Scripture, able to recite entire books of the Bible by memory, the reporter wrote. They held their first worship service a week later in a schoolhouse. Over time, followers of Christ formed congregations across southern Idaho. It went on to become the state's largest faith-healing religion and later spread into Oregon. The first few generations of holy men who led Idaho's congregations died, and no one took their place. Each church was left with, at most, a loose hierarchy and leadership structure. Each operates independently, with subtle differences in how it interprets doctrine. Although congregations have elders, families are the main conduit for ritual and belief. The religion also breaks with most Christian denominations in that it does not recruit or proselytize. Other than on the rare occasion an outsider marries in, the sect grows only through existing families. I'm going to say that again. The sect grows only through existing families. This insularity causes the same surnames to show up over and over in public records from followers' communities in Idaho. And just as happened in the faith's earlier generations, the sprawling followers' families tend to intermarry. Linda Martin, a former follower who traced her genealogy, calls her family tree a trunk. When the followers began, healthcare on the western frontier was primitive, unsanitary, and riddled with con artists peddling fake cures. Yeah, no, this is now, John Denver. This is now. Still happening right now. Hospitals and medical practitioners could treat many ailments and save lives, but medications for like insulin for diabetes and antibiotics for bacterial pneumonia didn't exist. Yes, baby. What do you want? You want the pink ones over there for you to use. Like other faith healing sects, the followers sought answers elsewhere. They looked to the Bible verses, such as in the book of James, quote, is any sick among you? Let him call for the elders of the church and let them pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord. And the prayer of the faith shall save the sick, and the Lord shall raise him up, end quote. Genghis said, quote, the whole scripture, end quote, informs faith healing doctrine, and that no one went to the doctor in Christ's time. Quote, it was a matter of trusting in God to heal them, he said. When someone dies, despite fervent prayers, the followers believe it is God's will. So when someone sees a doctor, the followers see it as sin. When someone recovers without medication or surgery or a 911 call, it seems to validate the sect's doctrine. No mainstream Christian denomination today accepts this interpretation of the Bible. Quote, I think over time it's kind of morphed into, this is one of the things that separates us from all of the other faiths or religion is that we don't go to the doctor, said Lauren Ells, who left one of Idaho's Followers of Christ churches about a decade ago. He now believes that because of cherry-picked passages of biblical scripture, quote, my eyes were completely clouded with presupposition. As a child, Els watched his father endure what Elle believes was a burst appendix. The man was bedridden for over a month and had foul waste coming out of his mouth, but he emerged alive. As an adult, though, Els watched his younger brother die of an ear infection that spread to his blood. He sat by his brother's side round the clock, quote, praying and wringing my hands, he said. An infection that some antibiotics could have probably taken care of, relatively simple, but we just say, well, we trust God with our life, end quote. By the time followers had grown, the idea that they could lose their own children isn't foreign. They may have been present for their own siblings or cousins' deaths. Their parents have likely taken them for vigils at other congregants' houses. The possibility of being isolated from their congregation can be a concern for followers because of how much their lives revolve around extended family and church. Former members say that someone who visits a doctor might be shunned, reprimanded or simply left out of social events. Although Kangas said only, quote, a few people here and there in his church would go that far. Genghis believes some ex-followers perceive condemnation where none exists because of a guilty conscience. A single doctor's office visit can be chalked up to a fear or weakness that, quote, people can be forgiven of, Kangas said. What matters, he said, is that the person repents and never goes again. How they reported the story. The ProPublica reporter Audrey Dutton obtained coroner and law enforcement records for the deaths of children whose parents self-identified as refusing medical care for religious reasons. She redacted and shared these records with healthcare professionals from Idaho and elsewhere, 8 pediatricians, a midwife, 2 pediatric cardiologists, 2 epilepsy specialists, and a labor and delivery nurse. They each answered the question, quote, could this death have been prevented with medical care, end quote. At least 3 professionals reviewed each and every case. If they didn't reach the same conclusion, ProPublica sought opinions from more professionals until a near consensus was clear. The count of preventable deaths includes one case where some doctors theorized the child might have died later in infancy, even with treatment. That would be Jolene. In the cases where experts didn't have enough information to reach a strong conclusion, ProPublica did not categorize those deaths as preventable. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is not just because of the rampant Islamophobia that we have, but also because of the Religious Liberty Commission and all of the things that I just read to you about it and their assertion of parents' rights when it comes to their children and their effort to ingrain religious freedom into parental rights and all of these other things, because in Idaho, having this law where religion makes torturing your children or allowing your children to suffer and die exists. And it's happening right now today. And so I wanted to bring these two things to light at the same time so that people could understand the dangers of having religion be the deciding factor in how we allow parents to care for children. Just because you are a parent doesn't give you the right to hurt your children, maim your children, allow your children to die in front of your face while they suffer. So the country already does recognize them as they have a designation as that they are a faith healing sect. So I wanted I know it was heavy, and I don't apologize for it being heavy, because as heavy as it is for us, I can't imagine what these children have experienced. I just can't imagine. No, Lucid, I mean, if you live in Idaho, I would imagine pressuring your legislature to change the laws. That might be something, right? But it is just wild. Don't you do it, sir. Titan, I don't know what your deal is today, but buddy, no. You see that water bottle right here? That's a no for you. I can't. Right. And also in relationship to AB and women's health care, 100%. Right. Religion. Oh my God, y'all. He went around to the front of the computer and jumped up over my laptop in order to still get up here. Very much so. It is really important for us to talk about the dangers of religion when it comes to our laws. This is why we shouldn't have religious exceptions to these laws. It shouldn't be a thing. What is it, buddy? You keep headbutting me. Yeah, he's been real needy today.
Yeah, I sat there and listened to you read that. And the juxtaposition for me is how far I had to go and how much advocacy I had to fight for my son to get the care that he needed when he was born. Because he was in the hospital for the first year of his life.
Yeah.
To get what he needed in a medical facility that was supposed to be like top notch and taking care of kids and all this stuff. To not fight for I can't imagine it.
Yeah. I can't imagine what these kiddos have experienced. I feel the same way when I think about the Palestinian children who have had to get amputations with no anesthesia because they don't have any.
Yeah.
Right? Can you imagine? I listened to one of the doctors who talked about that, and he said, because he's done all different types of mission trips and all of these different things. Stop, Titan, stop moving my hand. I have to do this. And he said, sorry. And he said that even though he's had to do amputations all around the world, he'd never had to do them without anesthesia until he was in Gaza. And he said, and all the parents could do was sing to the babies while he did the amputations with no anesthesia. Stop, bud. I'm gonna add this article into the link tree so that you guys have it. It's in the section directly under latest items covered, and the Religious Liberty Report is also there. Oh shit. Hold on, cancel. I need the entire. Stop it, son. You are literally you're too much right now. Jeez. I'm trying to use my mouse and he's literally headbutting my hand. Stop it, son. Okay, so it's in there, and it's in that section. Okay, so directly under the Project for the People stuff. Yeah, exactly, Jeff. Also, I'm just gonna throw this out there. In the subscribers chat, I didn't put this in here the other day, but I'm going to. Let me see. In 2 weeks. Let me see. 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Hold on. Let me look real quick, y'all. Buddy, what is your deal? Okay, so in 2.5 weeks, there will be an opportunity for some of you folks. Oh, yeah, you missed a lot today, Jeff, who are in the subscribers side of my Discord, who are close enough to join me. I will be going to an independent movie theater in a couple of weeks to watch American Doctor. It is the documentary done by 3 American physicians. One of them is Jewish, one is Christian, one is Palestinian Muslim, and it's out, but it's only in independent theaters across the country. I happen to find a place to watch it that is not too far from me, and so for those of you guys that are close enough that want to go see it with me, I'm gonna share the link and grab some tickets and go see it. So, yeah, it's called American Doctor, and it's 3 doctors that are Americans. I'm gonna throw it in the subscriber side. I'm going to throw it in the subscribers side of Discord. And so, yeah. But yeah, so I just think it's something that I don't want to miss, that I want to see. And the doctors were actually interviewed earlier, I think yesterday on NPR. And they were talking because the Palestinian doctor wasn't allowed to come back in because he's Palestinian, which is crazy. NYC is the closest to you. Jersey is out. Yeah, I had to look it up to find out where I could find one that was, decently close to me where I could check it out. One of the other physicians talked about when he went, he wasn't allowed to bring, just like Dr. Mimi, he wasn't allowed to bring any supplies. He wasn't even allowed to bring antibiotics that he had gotten for himself in case he got sick. They confiscated, the Israeli forces confiscated everything. He wasn't allowed to bring anything to help the Palestinians. Nothing. It's called American Doctor. So it's out now, and it's in independent theaters across the country. You have to look and find out because it's not being showed. You're not going to go see it at AMC, folks. You're going to have to see it at small independent theaters that carry the film. So, yeah. So, yeah, you're welcome. Okay. Whew. It's a lot, right? Today. Hold on, I'm checking really quickly to see if I got through everything that I wanted to get through, because I don't think so yet. Okay, I did all of those. So I can get rid of this now. I did that, so I can get rid of that.
Have you talked about the latest directive coming out of the Israeli government about the kites?
No.
So there's a new directive, and I haven't gotten into it really deeply yet, but there's a new directive that came out that they're saying that the Palestinian kids that are flying kites it's a T act.
Yeah, fuck them.
They're just adding another layer on top of all the other human atrocities that they're doing over there.
Basan was out flying a kite the other day. I saw her. So there's a video that I'm gonna also throw in the link tree right now, because I know I can't play it on TikTok, but it is specifically about Clarence Thomas and Harlan Crow, and it's a video. And there's talking, and they're telling you a lot of things, and so you can watch it But give me a second. Fuck, I didn't mean to click that. It's going to open, and I don't want it to, but that's okay. Oh, my sweet baby Jesus. Okay, thank you. Let me add this over here for you guys. Yeah, I haven't. I think that's why when I saw Basan and she was flying her kite, that's why. I think everybody already knows this one though. Let me just delete. I'm done with this one. So let me just make sure. Okay. I'm going to add this to the link tree, but it's long as hell, so I'm not going to read it because I just finished reading a lot. But do you all remember the claims about the Venezuelan gang members that were supposed to be in the big Chicago apartment building, and that's why ICE raided it? Do you all remember that? Do y'all remember that? Okay. So ProPublica did an investigation into it and uncovered a completely different reason. There's a note. It's called Paper Trail, and it's actually produced as an audio series as well by ProPublica. Give me a second. Let me see if I can find what I'm looking for real quick. I'm just kind of okay. Anyway, sorry, I was scanning to see if I could just pull it out really quick, but I can't. But these are actually from the journalists that were on the ground, like when it was taking place. And so, if you all remember, we talked about this a little bit back in February. Donna, when you say they're left leaning, what does that mean? In what way? So I just want to be clear, you all, that left leaning or right leaning doesn't mean inaccurate or fake or false, right? I have what many people would consider to be left leaning ideologies, and the things that I share are factually accurate. So it doesn't matter. If you're telling facts, it doesn't matter what fucking way you lean, does it? My political ideology is irrelevant if what I'm giving you are facts. Yeah. So RNO, the reason that they always revert to right and left and Democrat and Republican is because they can't actually discuss the issue or the policy itself. Yes, honey. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, rather than address the misinformation and the actual facts behind the Venezuelan apartment in Chicago, she'd rather say, oh, well, that's a left-leaning outlet. Because then we're not talking about the actual issue. We're not talking about the the actual facts of what happened. And so that's what they like to do, is distract. And so that's why I'm not having a discussion with you about a Republican or a Democrat. I want to talk to you about the issue and the policy. That's it. And if you can't do that, then I don't know, shut the fuck up, I guess, because I'm just saying, if I'm talking to you about facts and nothing about what I'm saying is left leaning or right leaning, like I'm not criticizing the Republican Party. And by the way, even that isn't inaccurate. The same way that I criticize the Democratic Party, I can criticize the Republican Party. Right? So, that doesn't mean anything. Is it factually accurate? And you would be hard pressed to find something that I've said that isn't. So, just saying. Other than that, I really don't feel like I don't care. Right? Here's what I can tell you is ProPublica has never been sued and been told by a judge that they're not a news outlet, that they're only entertainment, and been forced to give millions and millions of dollars for their fucking lies. That's never happened to ProPublica. It did happen to Fox, though. Just saying. Yeah. Okay. Like y'all just be tripping me out sometimes with the stuff you say. Okay. Oh my gosh. Hold on a second. Hey. What's up? Oh, hold on, because she's on the porch blowing bubbles. Yeah. Hold on. Belly! Come here. Yeah, she found a little thing of bubbles that I had, and she asked me if she could go sit outside and blow the bubbles. I said, yeah. Here, Mommy wants to talk to you. Here. Okay. All right. I'm back. So really quickly, I just want to check a couple of things as we things that I need to make sure that I tell you all. Damn, I don't think I actually sent it over today. Hold on, let me see if I did. I made a screen recording of something that I wanted to play for you all, and I am not sure. Dang, I didn't. I meant to put it over here so that I could play it for you, and I didn't. Let me see if I can find it really quickly, okay? I want to play a clip for you. Tighten, you have to move. Okay. Okay. How many of you all watched any of Scott Bessent's testimony before Congress 2 months ago? How many of you all saw that? Did you all see damn it? Did you all see it at all? Because I try not to listen, to be honest, to all of it. Okay, so I just want to talk about this one clip real quick. And then I just want to point out something that none of us should like. I haven't mentioned it and I haven't seen it, Jeff. Nope, I missed it. Okay. Okay, so Scott Bessent was asked about his role in the IRS. Okay. And parts of it you had to leave. Okay, cool. All right. So, yeah. So hold on a second. So I want to play this clip for you guys. And I want us to talk about, just the amount of deception that's taking place in this 1 minute and 5 second clip. Okay. So let me refresh.
You are the acting IRS commissioner, correct?
That is incorrect.
What is your position right now
So she says, you are the acting IRS commissioner, correct? And he says, that is incorrect. Got it?
with the IRS?
My term expired.
So you have no position with the IRS whatsoever?
The IRS is a bureau that reports to Treasury. When there is no commissioner, those duties float up to me.
All right. So there's no interaction that you have right now or responsibility over the IRS other than the commissioner's there, the commissioner has free reign, and you don't have any authority to stop anything?
No, there is no commissioner, so I assume those duties.
So there is no commissioner. I assume those duties, but you're incorrect because I'm not the acting commissioner. So I don't have the official title. So that means I'm not the acting commissioner, but I'm doing all of the duties that the commissioner does.
So there is no commissioner, so you're acting commissioner?
No, that's incorrect.
Okay, so for purposes of the public, let's get it straight so the public knows your involvement. There is no commissioner. There's somebody that is acting.
I had previously been the acting commissioner.
Okay.
Senator Warren, who likes to send me a lot of letters, was kind enough to send me a letter.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out your role with the IRS. For the purposes of the public and transparency, what is your role currently with the IRS and your authority?
I am performing the duties of the commissioner.
Oh,
I am performing the duties of the commissioner, but because I don't have the official title of acting commissioner, I'm going to tell you you're incorrect, that I'm not the acting commissioner, although I am acting as the commissioner. I'm doing the job, but because we just let the title go so that nobody could say that I was, right, fucking word games. And this is the thing, everyone should have a problem with this. I do not care what political party you belong to. Everyone should have a problem with these people sitting up here playing in our fucking faces, playing semantics. Like, for real? I just am like, are you kidding me right now? So I'm doing all the duties of the commissioner, but I'm going to tell you that no, I'm not the commissioner. And he said it with a straight face, by the way. Yeah, so he used to be the acting commissioner. That term expired. They never put in another commissioner. So now he's doing the duties of the commissioner. I saw it and I was like, because we all see what this is, right? Right. It's by design, honey Graham, 100%. And it's wild. It's very, there's another one. Hold on that I want to show you all. Let me see if I can find it. Of course I can't. What's your name, Brady? There he is. Okay, that's it. That's him. So how many of you all saw Kevin Warsh's testimony before Congress? So Senator Elizabeth Warren had an exchange with him about, you don't know who this is. Okay, so this is from a few weeks ago. So give me a second and I'm going to show it to you. I just want to, I don't want the whole thing. I just want the clip, please. I just want I want the whole hearing. The whole hearing is 2.5 hours. I literally just want the clip. Oh my geez. Can I have the clip, please? Sorry, y'all. Give me 1 sec. Hopefully this is the clip. Ah, it is the clip. Okay, sorry. So Kevin Warsh is the new Federal Reserve chair. Yeah, Raja, I'm okay. So he is the new chair of the Federal Reserve. And he's being questioned by Elizabeth Warren. And so I want to share this with you all because, again, playing in our faces. You ready? Here we go. I'm going to just take a listen.
You say now that you've sold those shares. In other words, somebody wrote you a check for more than $100 million days before you entered office.
He was required to sell these stock shares that he had. He was required to sell these things. And somebody paid him $100 million for them just days before he became the new Federal Reserve chair. I didn't say $100. I didn't even say $100,000. I said $100 million. Listen.
You say now that you've sold those shares. In other words, somebody wrote you a check for more than $100 million days before you entered office. Chair Walsh, who wrote that check?
Senator Warren, this is a discussion you and I had in the public square 7 weeks ago, and I'm thrilled to tell you that I have fully honored the obligations I had under the agreement I had with the Office of Government Ethics.
Yeah.
So when he first came before them 7 weeks ago, they said, listen, you cannot become the chair of the Federal Reserve while you own this shit. So they had an agreement, and the agreement was he had to sell them. And so he's like, oh, I did sell them, right? I did sell them, right? And she says, yes, I'm glad you did, but what?
And there is continued disclosure, which I'm happy to make as consistent with the agreement.
I asked you a very specific question. Who gave you $100 million right before you were sworn in? Was it a billionaire who has business with the Fed? Was it Stanley Druckenmiller, who's made billions of dollars betting on what the Fed does? Or was it a different billionaire? Who gave you the money?
I will fully comply with the Office of Government Ethics.
That's not an answer.
Well, it is an answer, actually, Senator, because there are obligations, and I will satisfy them completely.
It's $100 million that you got just before you were sworn in, and you won't tell the American people where it came from. You say now.
This is the problem. Okay, so now I'm going to bring this back around. Now I'm going to bring this back around to midterms. Okay? I'm going to bring this back around to midterms. These last two videos that I just showed you are exactly why we must ensure that there is a progressive majority in the House and the fucking Senate after these midterms. Has to be. Because all of these Senate confirmations are a product of the Republican Party kowtowing to this administration and not doing their job under the Constitution. The Constitution tasks them with ensuring, vetting, and confirming every nomination that comes before them to make sure that those individuals are in the best interest of this country. And they are not doing that. They are specifically failing their constitutional duties. They're not doing it. And so I'm bringing this back around to the midterms because we got 70 damn days until we get to this election. And it is incredibly important that we get a progressive majority in the House and in the Senate. It has to happen, folks. I don't know who Bentley and Stokes are and whether or not you meant to request up. Both of you guys have puppies in your profile, and both of you all have damn near the same number of followers, but you're not following the same number of people. So I don't know if you meant to request up. And Todd, I don't know if you meant to request up. Yeah, John. Okay, since neither one of you is responding, so I assume he never answered a question. No, he did not. Okay, got you, Todd. Yeah, no, he didn't answer the question. No worries. Jack, did you mean to request up? Yes, baby. What's up, Joe? Where yours is? No, you had it over there on the couch, babe. Did you take it in my room? What's up, John? Jack Ruby, did you mean to request up? I'm just checking real quick. No? Okay. I appreciate y'all tapping though. So for those of you guys that are not on TikTok, people have to tap the screen to like the live. And sometimes when they're tapping, they accidentally hit the request button and then they end up in the queue. And so I appreciate the tapping. 100% appreciate the tapping. Okay. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring those two things and those exchanges back around because we have 70 days until it's very easy to do on accident. Until we get to the midterms. Oh, shit. Okay, so just real quick, I talked about it briefly, but I'm going to talk about it again. So a couple different things. You know, Trump says he's gonna wage this economic war on Iran. And the thing to remember is that we actually can't sanction Iran because we don't have any business dealings with them anymore, and we haven't for decades. So the only way that we can have any economic impact on Iran in terms of sanctions and things is if we are able to convince third-party countries that it's in their best interest to do that. The two main folks that support Iran are Russia and China, so I don't really see that that's going to go over too well. And I also think that the biggest difference is going to be that Iranian people are used to living under severe economic pressure and severe economic sanctions. And so that will be nothing new for them. It is, however, new for Americans to be experiencing all of the things that we are experiencing and what that will look like in another 3 months to 6 months if the whole thing continues, right? So when we think about which population is going to be able to outlast one, in terms of experiencing harsh economic conditions, my money is on Iran because Americans are fucking spoiled. Exactly, Jeff, because China's like, no, we're not sanctioning Iran. Yes. Also, I want to say something because I'm going to say it again, and people can get mad if they want to, but Iran is smart and they are strategic in the way that they are doing things. And so, Sadar Mohebi, I don't know how you say his name. He's a spokesman for the IRGC. And let me tell you what he said today about this new economic warfare that Trump says he's going to launch against the country. This is what he said. He said that the United States resorting to economic warfare against Iran is itself proof of defeat on the battlefield. Oh, I can just see ketchup and mustard flying in the room. I can just see it. I don't know. It's just absolutely crazy. Oh, okay. Things are escalating in the West Bank a lot. And Israel has evacuated the UNRWA's vocational facilities and Kafar Aqab, which is north of occupied East Jerusalem. That's a problem. And there are people that are really calling on foreign governments to start sanctions. And I think that if Israel continues what they're doing in the West Bank, they might actually get it this time. Because while people don't seem to give a shit about Gaza, the West Bank is a little different, it appears. So we'll see what happens. I'm just saying. I'm looking really quickly. Yeah. Israel also has dropped some more targeted airstrikes in towns that are in southern Lebanon, which is an issue, right? Since March 2nd, Israel has killed 4,350 people in Lebanon. I want to say that again. Since March the 2nd, Israel has killed 4,350 people in Lebanon. And 12,310 Lebanese people have been injured by the Israeli attacks. So it's going to be really interesting to see. The Gaza Health Ministry, I'm just going to give you a few recaps, a few headlines real quick. The Gaza Health Ministry is warning of a complete collapse due to critical oxygen supply shortage. Dr. Al-Bursh said that there's a, quote, complete collapse of the basic necessities of life, and that only 12 oxygen stations remain operational out of 34. Any additional breakdown could cut off oxygen to patients. And he says, if the oxygen supply stops, these patients will die. We do not want to reach the point where a doctor is forced to choose between two patients, deciding who receives oxygen and who is left without it. Yeah, things are really just real crazy right now. In Lebanon today, in the West Bank today. And it's just really, really difficult because the president of the United States is saying, oh, well, we've cleared all the mines from international waters of the Hormuz Strait. And then Iran and Oman are saying that they have negotiated something and put something together to clear the mines. Iran is saying we have total control of the Strait of Hormuz. And so it's just and I'm just going to be frank, y'all. I mean, when it comes to me, do I believe a claim by the president of the United States or Iran? To be honest, I'm I think Iran is more credible at this moment in time. So I'm just want to be clear about that. They just have more credibility than he does because he lies too much. He lies too much. If you have not signed up for Project for the People, you can do that by scanning the QR code that is on your screen. I'm going to put it on the screen for you guys right now. Are you all talking to the trolls? I know you're not talking to the trolls. Y'all were doing so good. You made it through almost the whole damn live. And then he got you with a comment about socialism. Oh, yeah, we're doing so good. And it was that comment about socialism. It just took y'all out, didn't it? So listen, Project for the People. You can also go to makingamericatruly.great.com, fill out that information, get access to the Google Drive. There are plenty of new documents in the Google Drive if you do not know this. So do I have anybody in here that is in Louisiana right now? Let me talk to my Louisiana folks. Do I have folks in Louisiana? Throw a 1 in the chat if you're Louisiana. So Louisiana folks, not only do you have graphics in English and in Spanish like all the other states and congressional districts, you also have graphics that are now in French. So I have done all of your Medicaid, your SNAP, and your increased uninsured people because of the ACA tax subsidies expiring. All of those have been done in French for you. I've also have added to the drive 2 more graphics. They are under, when you go into the Project for the People folder, listen, I don't think Canva was that diverse. It just said French. They asked me to do the shit in French. I did it in French. So it got whatever, it got me whatever French that Canva gave me. That's what it gave me. They got the French that Canva gave me. That's what they got. Because the only 2 Frenches that it gave me an option for was French or Canadian French. And so they got regular ass French because that was what the option was. And that's going to be good enough because I don't know what y'all want me to do. I can do a Haitian Creole, but not, I was specifically asked for French. I can do a Haitian Creole now, but I don't know if that's going to, Canadian French is probably closer. Well, fuck if I know. Listen. It's French enough for today. Let me say that. Okay, but listen. Also in the Google Drive, under the nationwide resources, there's a folder for myth versus facts. When it comes to raising the federal minimum wage, there's 2. Okay, and so there's 2 new graphics in there. Yeah, I don't do 37 different dialects in French. No, I don't. I'm funny. I just be for real. I'm like, listen, y'all gonna get whatever the hell you just got. Oui, mon chéri. Okay. Let me see what else. So there are those 2 graphics that are in there under that. There's also in every single state and every single congressional district, there's 3 things we can do in 2027. There are 2 graphics underneath that. So you guys have a total of about 4 or 5 different new graphics that are in the Google Drive. We will go over those this Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our Project for the People meeting. So if you have not registered for Project for the People and you don't have access to the Google Drive, you can do that by using the QR code that is on your screen or going to makingamericatruly.great.com. Bring a friend to the meeting, and you will get your name thrown in the hat for some free merch. You can also get Project for the People t-shirts, mugs, water bottles, tank tops, hats, hoodies, door knockers, tote bags, all of the things. The link for the merch is in my Discord. It's also in my link tree. Okay. I'm trying to think of everything else. And everybody that attends the meeting this Thursday will get a special discount off of merch. So come to the meeting on Thursday. You will get a special discount off of merch. So there you go. $10 off of $50. That's the special discount off of merch. Yeah. So you've got new graphics. I managed to get 5 new ones, even with the kiddos and everything. Well, 4 new ones with the kiddos, everything uploaded and ready to go. I've got 2 or 3 more that will be coming to you as well. So yeah, that's that. Okay, people. So I can't think of anything else. Folks. So that is it. I will not be live tonight because I have somewhere to be. I actually have a friend in town from DC. Gonna go have a chat and maybe strategize about some things. Other than that, I will see you all tomorrow morning. Okay? Make sure that you're in the Discord. And I think that's it, y'all. I'm going to go check on this baby girl, take her temperature, make sure we're good. Love you, mean it. And I will talk to you all later. Okay? Bye, everybody. Have a great day.